I'm 26F and my fiancé, 28M, just left me stranded on what was supposed to be the happiest day of my life. For context, we'd been together for almost 5 years. He proposed to me a year ago, and since then, I'd been planning every detail of our wedding down to the flowers on the tables. We weren't rich, but we both agreed we wanted something beautiful and meaningful, not too big, just family and close friends. The morning of the wedding felt surreal. My bridesmaids were buzzing around me. My mom couldn't stop crying happy tears, and I was so nervous I could barely eat. I kept thinking, this is it. I'm finally marrying the love of my life. I had my dress on, hair and makeup done, and I was waiting in the little room the church had set aside for me before the ceremony. Guests were arriving, music was playing, and I remember looking at the time, 5 minutes until I was supposed to walk down the aisle. My heart was pounding, but in the best way. Then things started to feel off. My maid of honor whispered to me that she hadn't seen my fiancé in a while. At first, I brushed it off. Nerves, maybe? Cold feet? I tried to laugh it away, but the pit in my stomach kept growing. Minutes passed. Then more. The officiant came in and asked if I'd heard from him. My dad went to check outside. People were murmuring, wondering why things weren't starting. And then my phone buzzed in my hand. It was a text from him. Just one line. Please understand, blood is thicker than vows. That was it. No explanation, no call, no face-to-face. Just those 8 words that shattered everything in me. At first, I thought it was some kind of mistake. Maybe he was overwhelmed and saying something cryptic? But deep down I knew. Something was wrong. Something I didn't see coming. And that's how my perfect day, the one I'd dreamed of since I was a kid, came crashing down before it even began. I just sat there staring at my phone. My fiancé, the man I was about to marry, had just sent me the most gut-wrenching text of my life. Please understand, blood is thicker than vows. At first, my brain refused to process it. I kept reading it over and over, waiting for the words to change, waiting for some kind of follow-up message that would make it make sense. Nothing came. Meanwhile, outside the little room where I was hiding in my dress, people were whispering. My maid of honor knocked on the door softly, asking if everything was okay. I couldn't even answer. My throat felt like it was closing up, my chest heavy like someone had dropped a stone on it. I wanted to believe he was just having a panic attack, that maybe he'd gotten scared and stepped out for some air. But deep down, those words, blood is thicker than vows, felt like a death sentence. It was deliberate. He wanted me to know exactly why he was leaving. The officiant came back in, trying to stay calm, but I could see the discomfort on his face. My dad looked furious, pacing up and down, pulling out his phone, trying to call him. Each call went straight to voicemail. Guests were beginning to notice. A few even started asking, "Where's the groom? Is something wrong?" And there I was, sitting in my gown, makeup already starting to run from silent tears, clutching my phone like it was the only lifeline I had. Humiliation started to creep in. I could imagine the whispers spreading through the crowd, the pitying looks, the judgment. My mom came to sit beside me and tried to console me, but I felt hollow.
Numb.
My fiancé hadn't just left me. He had abandoned me in the most public, humiliating way possible, on the very day I had trusted him the most. And all I could think was, what does he mean by blood? Who was more important than me, his soon-to-be wife? Little did I know, the answer was already waiting outside. I didn't have to wait long to figure out what blood is thicker than vows meant. My cousin rushed into the room, her face pale, and whispered, "She's here." I didn't understand at first. Who's here? But then she said a name I hadn't heard in years, my fiancé's ex. The one who had caused endless fights between us at the beginning of our relationship. The one he swore was out of his life for good. Apparently, she had shown up just minutes before the ceremony, demanding to see him. She wasn't subtle about it either. From what guests told me later, she marched right up to the church entrance, grabbed him by the arm, and pulled him aside in front of everyone. I tried to stay seated, but my legs moved on their own. I cracked open the door and peeked into the hallway. There she was, standing with her hands on her stomach, looking straight at him with this mix of desperation and triumph. And there he was, my fiancé, looking torn apart but still listening to every word. I'll never forget what she said. Her voice was loud enough for people nearby to hear. "You can't go through with this. I'm carrying your child." The world spun around me. For a second, I couldn't even breathe. Pregnant? With his child?
He didn't deny it.
He didn't even argue. He just stood there frozen, rubbing his face like his entire world had just flipped upside down. I wanted to scream, to rush out there and confront them both. But my body betrayed me. I was frozen, clutching the doorframe like it was the only thing keeping me upright. And then, in that moment, I understood the text. Blood is thicker than vows. He was choosing her. Choosing the possibility of a child over the life we had built, the vows we were about to exchange. What cut even deeper was that he didn't even have the courage to face me. He let his ex show up, drop a bomb in front of our families, and just walked away from me like I didn't exist. The whispers in the church turned into gasps. Guests started leaving their seats, craning their necks, trying to piece together what was happening. I heard one of my uncles mutter, "He's going back to her." And in that moment, I felt the sharpest mix of humiliation and betrayal I had ever known. My wedding day had turned into a public spectacle, and I was the fool in the white dress, left standing in the wreckage. The moment the words, "I'm carrying your child," echoed through the hallway, everything spiraled out of control. I just stood there, half hidden behind the door, watching the life I thought I was building collapse right in front of me. My fiancé didn't chase after me. He didn't come to explain. He didn't do anything. He just stayed with her. Inside the church, the atmosphere shifted from excitement to chaos in minutes. Guests whispered loudly, some even pulling out their phones. I heard one of my bridesmaids snap at someone, "Don't you dare record this." But I knew rumors were already spreading faster than I could breathe. My mom was crying, begging me to leave the room before I embarrassed myself further. My dad looked like he wanted to storm outside and drag my fiancé back in by the collar. The officiant quietly excused himself, as if he couldn't bear to stand in the middle of such a disaster. I finally stepped out into the main hall, still in my gown, mascara streaking down my face. The guests turned their heads toward me, their expressions a mix of pity and shock. That was the worst part, not just being left, but being left in front of everyone. It wasn't just heartbreak, it was public humiliation. Then I saw them. My fiancé and his ex were standing together near the entrance. She was holding onto his arm like she had just won some kind of prize. And he let her. He didn't push her away. He didn't come running to me. He just stood there, silent, looking at me with guilt written all over his face. I wanted him to say something, anything. An explanation, a denial, even a pathetic excuse. Instead, he lowered his eyes like a coward. That silence hurt more than the text. My relatives tried to usher me out before I broke down completely, but I couldn't move. I felt like I was glued to the spot, stuck in this nightmare I couldn't wake up from. All around me, guests were collecting their things, muttering to each other. Some looked at me with pity, others with judgment, like I should have seen it coming. That walk out of the church, in my white dress, veil dragging on the floor, tears blurring my vision, was the longest walk of my life. No aisle, no music, no husband waiting at the end. Just me, abandoned, with the weight of 1,000 eyes on my back. And when I finally got into the car with my parents, I broke. The sobs came so violently that I could barely breathe. Because it wasn't just about being left. It was about realizing I'd been living in a lie, and now everyone knew it. I wasn't just heartbroken. I was exposed. The days after the wedding were a blur. I barely left my bed. My phone didn't stop buzzing. Texts from friends, relatives, even coworkers who had somehow heard what happened. Everyone wanted details. Everyone wanted to know how I was holding up. I wasn't holding up. I was drowning. Social media made it worse. Pictures from the wedding circulated. Me in my dress, smiling before everything went wrong, standing at the altar with no groom beside me. Someone even leaked the part where his ex showed up. Strangers on the internet were dissecting my life like it was some drama series. I kept replaying every moment of our relationship in my head. 5 years together, and he threw it all away in a single text. But as much as it hurt to admit, the red flags had always been there. The late-night phone calls he brushed off as work. The times he insisted he was just catching up with old friends. The way he avoided certain questions whenever I asked about his past with her. He swore they were done, that she was out of the picture, but looking back, I think he never truly cut her off. I had ignored my gut so many times. I told myself I was just being insecure, that I didn't want to be the jealous fiancé who made baseless accusations. I trusted him. And he used that trust to build a lie big enough to walk me straight to the altar, only to leave me stranded. Family tensions exploded after the wedding. My parents were furious, not just at him, but at me for not seeing the signs. My relatives kept arguing. Some said I should be relieved it ended before the vows. Others said he owed me more than a cowardly text. A few even suggested I try to work it out if the child turned out to be real. The audacity of that advice still makes my blood boil. Meanwhile, I couldn't decide if I was angrier at him or at myself. Angrier at his betrayal or at my blindness. I wanted closure, but every time I thought about calling him, I remembered the image of him standing next to her, choosing her without hesitation. Nights were the worst. I'd wake up in cold sweats, reliving the moment my phone buzzed with his message. Those 8 words carved into my brain like a scar. Please understand, blood is thicker than vows. And slowly, beneath the grief, another feeling started to grow. Not forgiveness, not yet, but a sharp edge of bitterness and a dangerous thought I couldn't shake. Maybe I didn't just want to move on. Maybe I wanted revenge. For weeks after the wedding, I let myself drown in heartbreak. But one night, as I sat there staring at his old texts, I realized something. He might have left me stranded, but I wasn't powerless. See, during our 5 years together, we built so much of our life jointly. Bank accounts, a savings fund for the wedding, even a little side business we ran together. And because I was the organized one, most of those accounts were under my control. He trusted me with the passwords, the paperwork, everything. So, I seized it. Every cent we had saved for our future, gone from his reach. I redirected it into my own account, the one with only my name on it. The joint business? I cut him off the access completely. Credit cards, subscriptions, even his streaming accounts. He was locked out of everything overnight. Petty? Maybe. But when a man can humiliate you in front of your entire family and community, sometimes pettiness is survival. It didn't take long for him to notice. He tried calling me. I ignored every single attempt. Then came the texts. Why are you doing this? We can work this out. You don't understand. I had no choice. Oh, but I understood perfectly. He chose her. He chose to ruin me in front of everyone. Now he was the one stranded, broke, and scrambling. A week later, he showed up at my apartment. He looked like a shadow of himself, unshaven, exhausted, practically begging. He said the ex wasn't even pregnant after all. She had lied to get him back, and he had fallen for it. Now she was gone, and he was left with nothing. He actually had the audacity to say, "I made a mistake. Can we try again?" For the first time since that awful day, I felt something other than grief. I felt powerful. I let him talk, let him grovel, let him cry. And when he finally reached out to touch my hand, I pulled it back and said, "Blood may be thicker than vows, but loyalty is thicker than lies. You chose your side. Stay there." Then I closed the door on him, just like that. Walking away that night felt better than any revenge movie I'd ever seen. Because it wasn't just about punishing him. It was about reclaiming myself. About proving that he could humiliate me, betray me, abandon me, but he could never break me. And for the first time in weeks, I finally slept peacefully. Because I wasn't just left at the altar. I walked away a survivor.